Check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? Let me take out whatever that is. How we doing, Coach
Checking.
Paul?
Oh, what a day. Um,
What a day.
let's hear it how from our audience how you did, um, and what you learned.
Let us know in the
Because
chat how your day ended up today. Absolutely. Whether it was a good trading day, bad trading day, if you did learn from it. Obviously, a lot of the news and market movement was stemming from some news and escalations overseas. So, first, we want to make sure we pray for peace and hope that we don't see escalations, further escalations, but we know in wartime anything can and will happen. So, just want to send thoughts and prayers out to anyone who is in that region currently. I know we had some viewers on Topstep TV today mentioning that they were in the region. So just hopefully that you're safe first and foremost. Um, but what a trading day.
and you know what was it happened right off the get go. We'll go through that. There wasn't They didn't give you time to react. Um, I happened to be long into that, um, and scratch my way back to unchanged. But this is, if you're new to that, this is trading, and then we say it all the time. Anything can happen.
Yep.
ACH. You hear Hogue say it all the time. Hogue's been around for a long time, and 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 this is why when I, if you need to have stops in, because that move happened immediately. I had my stops in, took my loss, and scratch my way back to unchanged in the equities.
Nice recovery.
Can't say that can't say that in the currencies, but that's the way I trade. Um, so how about you, Coach?
I had a good day today. Had a good day. Started in the overnight. Did take a couple of trades. And then uh, we were talking about it before we got on here. Uh, One of the cleanest setups of the month, really. I mean, month just started, but going back to last month, hesitated on a little bit. Was able to catch some of the move eventually. And get on the right side of the markets and have a nice day. Have a nice day. Ended up using the lockout feature on Top X, which I love because I was looking to catch a long towards the end of the session, but preempted it a few times, saw that I was going to, potentially get back some profits. So I stopped it on the day. Um, but welcome everyone to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I am Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. Shout out to Coach Dakota in the chat, $25,000 day today. Way to take advantage of the markets. That is an amazing day. Um,
Was he buying it?
no, he was selling it. He was selling it most of the
Okay.
day, which I was surprised at. But that he can trade. He can trade. So shout out to you, Dakota.
Yeah.
Uh, if this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That's Coach Paul. We both been top set performance coaches for a little over a year now. I've been trading for the last 12 years. Coach Paul, 40. And a ton of experience coming from both of us. I learned a lot from Coach Paul doing this segment. Hopefully, you all are learning a lot from us doing this as well. Um, and yeah, I'm up 33,000 in the combine, which I just have this up because I'm working on my YouTube influencer game, where I can just put up a big green number, and then hopefully that makes people listen to me. Um,
Well, you could be right up there with Coach Dakota.
right. Except he can actually he can buy new tires for his car. I can only, you know, put this up on YouTube. But I'm not going to get into that. Welcome everyone. So the way we start every segment is by going over the top percentage movers on the day. To the downside, we have the NASDAQ down 1.4%, the Russell down 1.45%, and oops, why is the micro Russell on there? New Zealand dollar down 0.99%. To the upside, we have all of the energies. We got wheat up 2.27%, RBOB gasoline futures up 2.41%, and crude oil up 3.48% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside.
Wow.
A couple more days like this, and I'm not going to rent a Lambo. I'm going to buy the Lambo dealership in my dreams. Uh,
I've
but
never heard it put that way. That's something new.
right. I mean,
Lofty goals.
why stop at one when I
Let's
can just sell them? Welcome. Let's get into these charts. I'm gonna stop talking shit. Uh,
no, please
the
do.
the 30-minute chart we have here, Coach. I have your moving averages. We're looking at a 200, and I'll remove some of these drawings first. Let me get situated here. We have the 200 moving average. This is a 30-minute chart, which is this white line here. The purple line is the 50 moving average, and the yellow is the 20 moving average. And we've been talking about this, Coach, being that major level. We closed up below it on Friday. We closed back above it yesterday. But an area of contention for the markets. And, you and I say it all the time. And of course, we did have news, but news expedites the move. From a technical perspective, we were dealing with this 200 moving average, and the market decided that it could not hold above it. We talked about this rally looking like it's running out of steam a little bit, maybe needing to pull back, um, and having a decision to make at this 200 moving average. And then of course we get news that expedites that and pushes us lower. If we look at the first 30 minutes of the Globex Open, take the moving averages off. We have a VWAP starting there, and initially overnight was a decent long. We see volume leaving that range to the upside.
Yeah, that was. I mean, after the base of the late spike move,
Hmm.
late, we held that, and we had buying. It was. This was a classic case of a shock. As we talked yesterday, the possibility of missiles being launched at Israel was there, but it wasn't in the forefront, right?
Right, right.
Um, so I was long from that. I had my stop in at the low and new lows. My moving average was a little different than yours. I wish I was using your system.
Oh,
Um, mine was, and by the way, the, it can change on different platforms and different databases. Not to get into the technicals, but that's averaging a price going back. So everyone's database is not the same. Um, but having a stop in, I was very bullish. It was like so things changed and it changed in a hurry.
yes, it did.
Um, I found it suspect that the news came out first, right on. I mean, literally at the bell. Um, so
I'm
Coach
remembering
Robert, go ahead.
I'm remembering where my initial entries were last night, and I was getting short at this double top up here. Had no idea that that move was going to happen. I just literally just remembered that that's where my first entry was.
Well,
Nice.
it's Coach Robert. He won't trade the first half an hour.
Right.
Um, I will. Um,
Same here.
but
Has to be a good setup.
it it has to be a good setup, and it has to be in a like I talked earlier on Topstep TV. You have to know yourself,
Correct.
and you have to have a plan to trade it
Correct.
and accept it, and not worry about is this the right? Is this going to lose? I mean, that's the one that always pulls me down. Is this going to lose? Which is what kind of mindset is that, coach?
Loser's mindset.
It's a loser's mindset. And it's easy to get caught into that. I fight it all the time. Um, because when you have that mindset, you're gonna sometimes you short on trades, you find reasons to get out early. Um, and we'll say it. I'll say it again. I'll say it 1,000 times. Accept the risk
Hmm.
when you get in and let it play out.
Absolutely.
I how many times in that first half an hour, because you get sharp whips either way. Today we didn't. we had a we had a pounding, but if you're going to do that, and if you're not comfortable with it, do what Coach Robert does. He understands what he's looking for.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's okay, right? And I think what happens is traders may have that in their trading plan. They say, "Hey, I'm not going to trade the first half an hour," and then they see a first half an hour like this and want to change their plans, right? You can't do that to yourself, right? Because the market's always going to present something that looks like it. Grass is always greener on that side. But if you've established those rules, you probably established them for a reason. And even in Coach Roberts' case here, after the first half an hour, there was still a lot of trading to be done for the session. Why he's doing it is because of the days that don't look like this, right? We talked about this, having to be a really nice setup. And end slug, I'm answering your question now. How would you trade this? I normally don't trade the first half an hour either, but it's because I'm looking for volume to leave this range before I do. And sometimes it takes an hour to do that. In this case, I have VWAP anchored to the New York session open. I'm using a 3-minute chart. And in the first 6 minutes, volume left the range. Now, based on all the back testing, forward testing, trading that I've done of this pattern, when I see it this way, then I can trade in those first 30 minutes. But if not, and this VWAP is staying in the range, for me personally, I'm not, I have to wait. And it's not just waiting by default, it's waiting because the market's telling me to wait. But in this case, you know, 6 minutes in, we're leaving that opening range. Volume is going with it. Really nice sell volume. And anywhere under this VWAP, right, a test of that VWAP was a really nice place to enter a potential short. And of course, we don't get to see the market like this. We see it here. And this is what we talked about yesterday, coach. Where do you set your risk? It's two
Uh,
ATRs back in the range,
New highs,
new highs.
one ATR, whatever it is that you're comfortable with. But one of the best plays that I see on that is over time when you see this 3 minute and you see the VWAP leaving right away, it's not a time to buy.
Right.
I can't say that enough. Um, so that's a classic opening 3 minute trade. Wow.
Yeah, this is a really good one. And I don't take this trade immediately all the time, right? So what I'm looking for personally, and everyone trades opening range breakouts differently. I need to see a candle close outside of the range and volume leaving the range as well for confirmation. Now, does that mean I may be getting in late to some trades potentially? But that's my criteria, right? Will I take a trade before I get those confirmations? Yes, but in doing that, I'm accepting the fact that I don't have an A plus setup and this trade might go against me, right? And it's just a trade I'm willing to take if that's the case. But A plus setup says volume left the range, price closed outside of it, and then I'm getting a either test and rejection of the range or a VWAP, right? So this candle right here, right around this 166, that's probably where I'm entering, looking to get an entry short. Uh,
Well, it's funny. As we talk, that's my broker calling me to say they're raising margins
oh
and,
wow,
across the board.
yep,
So
makes sense.
something day traders don't have to worry about, but it does affect the market. And I just want to steer it close here because bigger players, when margins go up, have to shave off some positions. You won't. That's what that does. So it's going to be an interesting night tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any kind of headline risk or anything like that, they're going to raise those margins. They don't want people holding positions into that can't afford them. And we can see it, on the way down. right? Any bounces up towards this VWAP presented really nice opportunities to take a short. If you were trying to long this, and in the current conditions that we had today, I told you guys my younger brother started trading as well. I was reminding him the whole time, hey, this is not that, right? This is not the same where it got down to a level 20,000, just blind buy it. Or look for that to turn. With that headline risk, you do want to be cautious of any counter trend trades that you're taking. And again, you can trade your technical patterns if you see them, but with that headline risk, the order books were extremely thin. Don't know if anyone was watching them, but they were pretty thin, and had to be really quick on these trades. This is a 100-point move in 6 minutes counter trend. So I will always say that there's opportunity in both directions. But if you're counter trend, you got to know it and be very quick to take profits when you are, especially on a day like today. Because if you get married to that bias, uh, you could get chopped up. Uh,
Yeah, I and chopped up. It's a good time to go about ATRs. I mean, we talk about it, and that sometimes there's confusion. But why I pay attention to the average true range, it is a reflection of volatility. It truly is. It's the average range. Volatility is range. So the fact I look at a longer term average true range to compare with a shorter term. So a 200, which averages anywhere from about 7 points handles in the S&P, and that was in the 200. Today, at on the close, the average true range in the half hour on the traditional 14 period was 17. So it doubled on average. That is pure volatility. And then that leads us to margin call. When that type of volatility comes, the brokers will raise margins. The exchange will raise margins. By the way, Series 3, um, brokers don't have to wait for the exchange to raise margins. They can do it anytime they want. If they don't feel comfortable with the volatility. In this case, I imagine the exchange is going to raise margins. And it's not just in equities, but in crude oil, natural gas, across the board, most likely. So, just a reflection. So, if in the half an hour from yesterday to today, the average range went 2.5 times bigger. So, your risk went up 2.5 times,
right.
or it's not a small amount.
Not at
So,
all. It's almost like that week or two in July into August, where we were telling everybody to scale down.
this is a classic case.
This is
So,
where you want to do that.
if it goes 2.5 times, you need to cut your position or your size accordingly. I see a question here. So, if margin gets raised, does that mean people have to sell? Well, they don't have to, but if they're going to keep it, and the pressure's on who? The longs right now, or the shorts, because the margin is margin. But who's in more trouble?
Right.
So if you're going to keep that position, you're going to have to put up more money,
Right.
or pare down. So it
Right.
goes right
Depends.
down the list. Pare down.
Yeah, it depends on how you're positioned. The way I look at it, it just costs more money to have a position on in either direction, right? Because that margin gets raised for both sides. If you're short in this, then you know maybe you are avoiding the margin call if the market keeps going in your direction, but
Yeah.
uh, gets raised for both sides. We did close under that 200 moving average.
Yeah.
Um, Again, markets, anything can and will happen. This is a pretty heavy close. under this 200 moving average, right? This white line that we have here. Looking at some downside levels, we did bounce near 19,800. Below that, we had, okay, so we had the FOMC candle, which was on the 18th. I'm looking at a 30-minute candle here in the NASDAQ. The high of it, 19,898. The low, 19,769. I would be looking for what the market says about this candle, right? And the reaction to this. Do we start to accept back into these prices? We can see that we bounced from it already, but going into tomorrow, and of course, headline risk, headlines can come out at any time. Going to be conscious of that as well. Obviously, just going to trade the way I normally trade, but if are some headlines that we have to worry about, pay attention to Topstep TV. We're going to mention them, and position accordingly.
Yeah, very interesting. It bounced right off that range.
Hmm.
And I think going forward, that's a key
Yep.
spot. And because that was FOMC, that was the expectation. Longer term players, bigger money came in and said, okay, allocation time, cheaper interest rates. And I'd imagine underneath that, you'll see some pressure.
Right.
But all in all, it's still a bull market if we put on the daily.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. Zoom out long
I
enough,
always,
we're going up.
yeah. Yeah, we're still above the 20. We're still above the 50. We're feeling heavy, but how many times when we look at it this way, does this happen? Can it gain momentum? Oh, it absolutely can. So,
Let's move over to the S&Ps. Just a little bit. Same story. Obviously, the same news affects the S&Ps. We are a lot closer to the all-time highs in the S&Ps than we are in the NASDAQ. Clear sell-off today where it looked like overnight we were going to go push those all-time highs. I didn't think there was much of anything that was going to stop us from pushing those all-time highs. I think we talked about it yesterday. But of course, when news comes out, that can affect everything. So really nice sell-off as well. Same story as the NASDAQ. Uh, that 3-minute opening range breakout trade worked very much the same way. And that VWAP presented some nice opportunities later in the day for trades. The one thing that we did talk about a little bit yesterday, and shout out to Big Sexy, who's just taken these concepts and just run with them, but anchoring a VWAP to the low of the day, and that presenting some trades. Coach, I heard you mention that on Topstep TV when you were on that segment as well, and looking for the market to either hold this or add to your shorts if we sold under it, where I think you were getting short at this daily
against,
VWAP, right?
yes. Well, was it a 1 minute 200 bar moving average, which was almost the exact same thing.
Got you. Nice.
Um, so, and we've talked about it before on the show, is off of lows, put a VWAP. So when that failed, I added. I had a really nice trade.
Nice.
Covered half, let it go, scratched the other half, and had a nice trade. But
Yeah. I really like that concept, anchoring VWAPs to lows, highs, market opens, high volume event, presenting some opportunities for you, right? Where we have this little pinch, the market ranges in between, and then once you get a break outside of it, you can set your risk, above the higher one because the break was to the low, and then just manage your trade from there. But once we settled above both of those, a nice little push into the close, and then we can see how we consolidated into the rest of the day. Anything else on the equities, coach, before we move on to crude and gold?
yeah, one last thing: if most people are trading equities, the volatility is taking a sudden jolt. We had jolts today too, but
We did that took a back seat, but
it took a back seat. And tomorrow, understand that volatility is higher. Pare down your size.
right, absolutely. And we got Philip C saying, he did use the Jolts candle, which you can, right? It is still a news event. Jolts was at 10 a.m. So let's say you did what Coach Robert does and you sat out that first half an hour of trade and you wait until that 10 a.m. Eastern time news happens. Uh, Actually, I'm going to do it with this instead. Still a really great trade, right? Ignore everything. Forget that, I mean, obviously you can't forget what's going on in the Middle East because it's affecting the markets. But let's say this was a normal day up until this point, and then we have jolts. You could trade it the same way. Frame out the range of the news candle, attach a VWAP to it. We can see that 50% of that candle is holding, and risk can be set above the highs, and that presents a really nice opportunity for a trade as well. So, Philip, I really like that with all the craziness that's going on. You stuck to a repeatable pattern that you've seen happen in the markets time and time again. Um, because you can control that. So really nice trade there. Um, Anything else?
No, that's it for me.
All
I'm just
right.
watching micro Bitcoin getting crushed right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to a 30-minute on crude oil. We know that geopolitical news is going to affect crude oil as much as any other market that's out there. We have 30-minute opening range from last night, Coach. And again,
Mm-hmm.
every time I see this happen this way, I'm gonna say thank you for pointing that out because I know I was looking on the 3-minute, but this one is providing almost better trades. Uh, so go ahead.
Well, it's relative, right? A 3-minute, you're gonna risk less. 30-minute, you're gonna risk a little more.
Mhm.
Um, but even with that, and I'm noticing overnight, it always pays to take profit before the open. Just time and again, we see this. Like we saw it in the equities, and now we're seeing it in crude. But it was a great trade last night.
Yep. Yeah, really, really nice trade. We saw crude kind of, before all of this happening, the analysis last night was that crude was in this downtrend under the 200 moving average. Uh, maybe a little bit of a balance over the last couple of days and potential continuation for that trend. And that's exactly what we got. Of course, until news happens, news is going to change market sentiment. It's going to change market structure. But before that, you could have had a really nice short in crude for almost $2, a 3% down move
Yeah.
before anything else happened, right? You did have to close it in the London session or right before the New York session opened, but a really nice
Clo-
trade just using that pattern. Go ahead, coach.
or close it when it closes above VWAP.
Right here. So that would have been, if you took the breakout from the opening range, that would have been a dollar trade, right? A dollar trade in crude, which I would take every
Did
day
that
of the week.
happen? I didn't even see that last night. That was huge
Yeah, it was a great move. Uh, Really nice move. When did I don't know when that selling started. Oh, it started in right before
in
London.
London.
Yeah, it started right
Yeah.
before London.
Well,
Um,
didn't they know what was going to happen?
uh, we go to the we'll go to a 3-minute chart and we'll go to the session open, which is 9 a.m. Eastern time, and let's see where that is. Right here. Not a whole lot of anything going on there, but does set the low, and it's the same pattern. Once that breaks, there was some nice buying in this. You guys know I do use Quantara as well. Did see some pretty nice buying come up in these candles, and you don't necessarily need it in order to trade, but um, that added confirmation. But you can see it in the volume candle here, right? Nice little spike here before that New York session volume came in, and once it did, pretty much the same story, just a really nice run up. Crude, not a market that I want to short when I hear news of escalations in the Middle East, because we know it can have this effect. It did push up to, and we've talked about this before, but major psychological levels. It's blowing through all the levels. But when the market's trending this hard, you do want to pay attention to the reaction at whole numbers, and up at 72 here, where we had all this buying all day. Where does the rejection happen? It happens up at 72. So paying attention to those whole number levels can either keep you in or out of trades, right? Where we did blow through a couple before that, right? We have 71 as well, 71 even. If we look at the market reaction to 71 even, Starts to slow down a little bit, right? We do get a nice pull back off of here, not directly at 71s. But that's why it's important, I think, to watch the market's reaction instead of just saying, hey, it's a whole number, I'm going to short it, or a whole number, we should just blow through it. You want to watch the market reaction to it because it can provide some decent opportunities. If you see the market push above, you don't see that buying momentum continue, maybe potential for a short. But again, I don't know that this is a market that I would want to short with the headlines that are out.
What was interesting is one thing we've talked about the ranges, volatility, and crude was down to $2. All right, that $2 range,
Right.
daily range. Today's actual range was $5.13.
Oh, wow.
And so when we talk about margins, um, it's going to affect across the board. This is real. This is who you want to be short when there's missiles flying around. Um, Last time, remember the night session? It was about 3 months ago or longer.
Yep.
Um, but my feeling is this is a little different this time. Um, so there was a massive short covering, and I can't even imagine uh, who took the other side of these trades when it was going up. Um, and that's why you see that kind of a move. That the market was, that was what I'll deem allocation. Because look at that volume spike.
Right. Yeah, right here.
Frame out that candle, and that was it held.
Yep.
Um,
So even if you didn't
so
catch that initial one, this one clearly,
yeah, well, look at that volume, and that's buying, obviously buying volume. Um,
right.
so that that wasn't a bunch of retail guys getting caught short.
Correct.
So we'll watch that going forward. Um,
Yeah.
what a move! $5. I didn't even know. It's wild. Last night I didn't know Europe was. So at one time Europe was $2.5 lower.
Yeah, it was a 3% move to the downside, almost a 3% move to the downside in Europe. Uh, and then a complete recovery. We ended up positive 3%, but at the highs of the day, we were up right around 5.5%. So really huge move. Decent opportunity both ways. Guys, that $33,000 was not real as much as I wish it was. Uh, as much as I wish it was. We'll get one of those soon. But yeah, really nice move in crude. Watching this $70 level now to see whether or not it holds. Of course, headlines are going to always affect it. I think Dakota is going to have a fast markets at night session tonight, most likely. We have uh, vice presidential debate. We have potential news of escalations and headlines. I would I would actually be looking tonight to take some trades if they present themselves, and I normally don't. Um, Anything else on crude before we go, Coach, to gold?
Once again, if you're trading crude, pair down.
Yep.
Um, that's about all.
Micros are available. There was a question, Garrison. Hopefully, you're still here, Garrison Roddy. How could you talk about the value of level two on days like today? You asked that question when we were talking about the equities, and if you were listening to Top Step TV, you probably heard the team mentioning one that the order books were pretty thin. So you're not seeing a whole lot of orders there, and then when you are, it's they mean a lot more, right? What I saw today in the Nasdaq were, as we were selling off, a bunch of 100 lots on the bid, right? Where uh, that means that it's a passive buyer. Again, we don't know what the intentions of those buyers are. They could be buying to open or buying to close a position, right? They could be covering shorts if they're in a really nice short. But the way I want to read level two is when we have those orders, how does the market respond to it? To me, that's the most important information you're going to get from there. If I see 100 lot on the NASDAQ and the market hesitates to fill it, then there aren't enough sellers to continue pushing price lower, the way I see it. But if someone throws 100 lot out there on the NASDAQ and it gets eaten up like like it's not there, and then we see the follow through continuing, uh, I'm reading that market reaction, right? So I use level two to determine flow of markets, right? I want to see where big market participants are, and then using the tape, time and sales to see how their orders are getting filled. Are they defending those orders when they get filled, right? So if someone puts 100 lot out there, is it, they get their 100 and they throw another 100 out at the same price? So it's about your interpretation of the information. I don't know that I have a clearly defined answer on it. But I would say if you're interested, Rip says it all the time, record your screen with some level two data up and see how the market responds to some of these prices, right? There's pattern recognition in reading level two as much as there is in reading candlestick patterns, but it takes some screen time to understand it.
And that's only in equities, correct?
No.
Oh,
That it applies to any market.
didn't know that.
Applies to any market. I would read level two pretty much anywhere. You knew that, coach.
I didn't know they had that in grains. I did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's actually, so if you want to read level two, trying to read it in the Nasdaq if you don't know what you're looking for is like reading a Russian textbook and you speak Spanish, right? Try to read it on something that's a lot slower, because you can apply the same concepts to a faster moving market, but you want to read something that's slow. So look at something like the 10-year, right, where you can see an order get put out there, you can watch it get filled, price is not going to jump all over the place, and then once you understand those concepts, you can apply those concepts to a market that moves a lot faster.
Great advice.
All right, gold.
Do you think you need it? What's the price, and is it worth it?
The price, $39 a month, is that right?
Okay.
Someone could correct me if I'm wrong. $39 a month, and I don't know that everyone needs it. I don't know that everyone needs it. We have some traders that don't use volume analysis in their trades at all. Uh, I'm always going to have it, but you don't need it. I think if you're interested in it, try to learn the concepts first, and then apply it there. I know MP mentioned it today. He said if you want to be a serious trader, you need it. I've even heard Dakota start picking it up, right? Where 6 months ago Dakota wasn't talking about anything on the dom, but he's using it in his trading because you're paying attention to the other market participants that are out there, right, and not just you. As much as we would like to think so, I don't control the markets. Maybe someone here is a market maker, and if you are, send me an email. But I don't get to put out that kind of size and move the market, so I like to pay attention to what other market participants are doing. Sierra says, anyone familiar with using Bookmap? I've used it before. I personally don't use Bookmap because to me it's a little bit too noisy, but it's the same information as you would get from level two.
Great information.
Thank you, coach.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk about gold.
Wow. What's that, coach?
It's the same thing we do every day. Pinky, try to take over the world. It is the 30-minute move, 30-minute opening range from Globex with VWAP attached to it. It VWAP left the range really early, and that was it for the day. That VWAP held. This one is kind of leaving me speechless because, like, wow, it just works.
Wow, that's right. And we talked about this yesterday when we reviewed gold. Is it still buy the dips? And we looked at the daily, and it was, when you look at the daily, it gives you a different perspective of what's really going on. So here,
Sorry, I moved
We
moved over to the daily real quick, but I'll go about right back to the
Yeah,
30.
no, they keep it. Yeah, that's so. With that daily, it was just a buy the dip.
Yep.
We got the dip. Was dramatic, and it picked up steam. Um, so that's still up. Did it make a contract highs?
No, it didn't. Contract highs are 27,087. Today's high was 2694. But yeah, like you were talking about on this daily, coach. We talked about this exact pattern, right? Gold makes a new all-time high, sells off for 2 days, and then continues. Here we go. Makes a new all-time high, sells off for 2 days, and continues. Um, Patterns are patterns until they break. Where
Yeah,
this
that.
looks like it just wants to keep running.
Yeah. Anybody want to get short gold with missiles being launched?
I don't.
Um, I don't.
I
And
don't.
wow, that was quite a move. What was the risk buying it? That one,
This one
and this
here,
is why.
so this one gave you a lot of time, right? Where some of the other markets, if we look at crude didn't start going. Crude's VWAP didn't leave the range until the London session, right? So this is happening. This is Dakota slow markets time right here, where VWAP is leaving the range. It's giving you a time. I mean, me personally, if I see this set up in the before I go to bed, I can take the risk even if I didn't buy it at the highs of the range and I bought it off of VWAP up here, or if I bought it up here, make the risk to make new lows, 6 points, $600 on a one lot. Um,
600 on, and that's on the big gold.
that's on big gold. Yeah, with micros, $60, trade a couple. And coach, you say it all the time. If, let's say I get in here and with the exception of this candle, because if I'm getting in this trade, especially on a 30-minute chart, I'm probably not looking to close it right away. Uh, Close it below VWAP. And if you did that today, the auto liquidator had to take you out right now. That's a trade management concept where if you get in for a technical reason, you get out for one. Uh, that's a tough trade to hold because if you took it overnight here, you were almost a full 20 hours in this trade. But from a technical perspective, it never gave you a reason to get out. Gave you a couple of reasons to add, where we pulled back down to that VWAP and it held as a support. Just looking at this, and again, these are trades that we're talking about obviously in hindsight, but in hindsight or in real time, is
Force.
it unreasonable to say that I'm going to manage a trade this way when we see this happen so many times?
Well, here's another. That's why I like doing micros. Let's say you did just five, just say 2 micros, just so we have a minimum. And
Right.
your risk was what, $6?
$6. Yep.
So if you get, at one point, did you have $6 in that trade? You can get out of one,
Got a couple
keep your
$6.
stop, and go for the runner. It's called playing with house money. And there's times, and it doesn't happen, and it happens less than 20% of the time, but it's one of the greatest things in trading. It's like, but do you have to trust yourself? Also, if you're staring at that screen, watching every tick, I guarantee you it's going to create a
Are you getting
lot
out?
of emotion. Oh, it was just, it was us. I should have got out there. Well, what if it goes all the way back down? I'll just get out. And then,
Yep.
I,
Then it runs to the upside, and uh, now you're trying to figure out a way to get back in up here.
yeah, one of my mentors, Peter Stottlemyre, said when he wanted to own corn, and if he was in the corn pit,
Hmm.
he put his position on and go trade soybeans or wheat
Okay.
because he didn't want to be taken out of his position by the action in there. So I really, sometimes if you can get a trade, you get multiple contracts, and you can lock it up and
Let the
play
runner
with
do its
house
job.
money. Yeah, it's one of the greatest feelings in trading. I don't know if you've ever been there. It truly is. You can literally go do something else. Go trade something else. Go
Take a walk
leave.
outside.
Turn off the computer. Let the computer do the work.
Absolutely. And that's the one thing I think we visualize a lot, right? We visualize the $50,000 profit day, the $100,000 profit day, but the part of the visualization that doesn't normally happen is the 4 hours, the 12 hours, the 20 hours it takes to sit in that trade and hold it. And that's really the tough part, um, where you have to sit through this. Now, I don't know about most of you, but if I see this, I'm probably going to get out if I'm sitting here watching it. But if I have no
Yeah.
idea, then yeah, it's a much better trade, and you just have to trust it, right? Not easy to do, not easy to do, but that's what's required if you want those trades. Um, One thing I see in gold here, something we haven't pointed out in a little while, some volume anomalies. If I'm looking at the overnight session, there's a
Oh,
couple here. This little spike of
wow.
volume here at 3:57 Eastern time. Why am I
London.
calling this an anomaly? That's more volume than any other candle around it, probably double the volume. Uh, so when we get back into New York session times, we're seeing that volume hold. A couple more here in this range. Um, just the market respecting volume when it happens, right? There's a market participant who created that volume, who created that price action, and when price revisits where they're in the markets, we can see somewhat of a reaction, right? Someone was buying here potentially, and when we got back down there, they're defending that position and continuing to buy. 2,700 right above us, obviously going to be a level of contention, but with headline risk, gold could be trading 2,750 tomorrow
Or higher. Like
or
we
higher.
said, if anything can happen. Crude could have a $5 range.
Right.
Um, and across we just said across all these markets, what is happening? Ranges are expanding. Risk is expanding. It's a good thing for traders. But if you're over leveraged, like even if you decided you could have bought gold and been over leveraged and got stopped out.
Right.
Um, there's going to be big swings tonight and tomorrow. Prepare for them. It's not there's I don't know. Have you ever had a trade on that it didn't have you thinking, oh, this isn't going to work?
Oh,
I
oh,
mean, it
I
happens all
didn't.
the time.
Oh yeah, it happens all the time. It happens all the
Um,
time.
so as after this review, I really have to express this lesson. Pare down. If you're trading one mini, pare down 5 micros. If you're trading 5 micros, pare it down, cut it in half because the volatility is here. Um,
Yep. Don't need a whole lot of size to make some money.
no, by the way, market makers are going to pare down.
Thin order books, we will see them. You'll hear it talked about on Topstep TV. Anytime you hear anyone on Topstep TV say, "Hey, the S&P order books look like the NASDAQ," that's a good indication to trade less size, because everyone else in the world is doing it. Uh, so we probably should follow suit. Um, Coach, you got anything on your scouting report? Anything on your scouting report outside of the four major markets that we trade?
I was so busy today, I did not get a chance.
Yep.
The old scouting report is still is corn or
Okay.
grains on the buy side. Um, Corn has been on a tear lately, and I still like the buy side of corn.
Okay.
Um, so and a little less volatile, but even corn is the volatility is up.
Yep.
Harvest lows in. Possibly the Japanese yen, but I'm not willing to call that as a buy.
I got you.
Um, how about you? Anything?
I've been looking at some of the other metals recently. I've been looking at platinum. Platinum has been trading pretty nice over the last couple of days and providing some of the same setups that gold is. But I like the risk a little bit better on platinum.
Can we look at the platinum on a daily?
Yep. Uh, if it's going to play catch up to gold and make yearly highs, it has a lot of room to run. Where yearly highs in platinum were up at 1125, and we're trading just over 1,000 right now. Um, if you look at this daily 200 moving average, coach, we're kind of settling above it.
Yeah. Yes, we are. I kind of let's see what you mean. And we're holding it.
Hmm.
Yesterday's low was the 200. Um, yeah, I see why you like that.
Yep.
Boy, I just every time I see that at the platinum,
Hmm.
this used to be the complete opposite.
Okay.
But gold was a discount to platinum by about 2 to 1, and now it's almost 3 to 1 the other way.
The other way. It's crazy.
Um, that's but um, platinum, I can see that, but there must be a large supply, or is it? Oh, Russia, I believe, is the largest supplier of platinum, or in South Africa, if I
Okay.
remember this correct.
Interesting.
Probably some restricted trade, but whatever it is, it goes to the market, right?
Right. Exactly.
And
And can't hide volume. Volume. If you want, if you want to make money from it, you got to put the volume out there at some point, and that's what I'm going to pay attention to.
yeah, talk is cheap, but margin costs money.
There you go. Any questions that we have? I think I'm done talking about markets for the most part, but if you guys have any questions, we do have about 8 minutes left. Do remember that we are doing this Pass with the Pros segment, newest segment on Top Step TV. If anyone wants to get on Top Step TV, trade with the pros. We saw Stefan, uh, who was yesterday, Keegan, and we had Stanley on. If you want to be the next trader on Top Step TV, uh, submit that form. Submit the form. Dolby is reading through those forms, so make sure you submit exactly what he's looking for. But you may have your chance to pass your combine on Top Step TV. Uh, and I think it's a pretty cool experience being able to trade live in front of thousands of people. It's a little bit of pressure doing it, but pressure's not always a bad thing. So fill out
I
that form if you want to. Go ahead, coach.
I got to give another shout out to Stanley. I had the pleasure of working with him
You did.
today. He started in April trading futures.
It's crazy. His patience is
Um,
amazing.
his patience was, in, we were, a wartime trade, right?
Right.
It was, and he's very disciplined. Um, and I wouldn't say unemotional, but in control,
Correct.
understanding risk. So, um, shout out. I mean, he's got, I believe, a great path ahead.
I would agree. I would agree. We got some questions. Harsh, what settings do you use for VWAP? For my VWAP, it's open, high, low, close divided by 4. Uh, can you talk about the news that may be affecting the NASDAQ? I think it's the news that it's affecting every market right now, especially today, right? The, escalations overseas. Uh, that's what affected almost every market that we can trade today. Outside of that, I don't pay too much attention to news. If it's a headline, I will. But coach, any news that you know that might be affecting the Nasdaq?
No, there's the
Same
news
stuff.
that's affecting its risk. Well, risk on, risk off. Um, you know, the biggest concern. It's not just that in the geopolitical scheme of things, this can easily escalate to the major powers facing each other. It's on a knife's edge right now. Without getting too deep into that, if that presents huge risk. Um, so that is the main driving force. And it was just last on Friday that we were looking to maybe we make all-time highs again. Um, so an event like this, it has large institutions take pause. They're not going to add. They're long anyway. So instead of adding to it or putting more in the short term, hedge funds, speculators put pressure on it. But if on a daily, this is still, it's not like the end of the world.
Right.
So the way that happened, the fact that there were missiles being launched, let alone is very concerning. And it's for real. This isn't a maybe.
Yep.
So with that, that's called risk off.
That is, I'm just looking at the volume here. That's the highest 30-minute on that open. That first 30 minutes today, that's the highest 30-minute candle volume-wise that we've seen since August, since the beginning of August. So there was
Wow.
real selling in that. I'm gonna read a comment here from Los Trades. Not a question, but I want to say I'm grateful because seeing you guys take wins and losses helps me to see I don't have to be perfect. Los, that's a great comment. Um, we try to be as transparent as possible here. If anyone is never showing you losses or not talking about it, run the other way fast, very fast. I lose a lot. Um, the combine that I told you guys I was trading and I was only going to trade micros and not look at the P&L, I blew the combine because I got impatient. So I'm going to be honest. It happens, and it's not going to be the first time I lose. Um, and I'm okay talking about it because that's realistic. Never want to set unrealistic expectations. And then to that point as well, I am on Twitter now, so I see some of the conversation going around. Um, so I just want to say personally, guys, don't treat this like a casino. Um, MP says it all the time. If you haven't proven that you can take payouts out of one account, don't trade 10. A lot of people are, kind of forcing this push to be like, I want access to 20 XFAs. If you can't make money out of one, you can't make money out of 20. So don't throw your money at it with the idea that, hey, I can just multiply this 25 times and, make a whole lot. If you're a trader who's secure in your process and you're executing really well, then absolutely use the extra leverage to make more. You've seen Dakota do it. You see a bunch of traders on the leaderboard do it. But that's not the case for everyone, right? I think I've said it before. Some of us love the game of basketball, but no one's ever going to pay me to play basketball. I got to go play at the men's league or at the local gym, and that's okay. I understand where I fit in the overall scheme of it, and once I can accept that, then I can play where I fit. If you are not at the place where your trading is set up for you to make that leaderboard, don't try to use one account. If you fail it and you're new to trading, let it reset on the rebill and take the rest of the month or whatever time you have to perfect your skills. All right. Don't blow a whole lot of money trying to do this because the market does not give a shit and it will take whatever you have and whatever you want to give to it, it is going to take. So be honest with yourself where you are in your journey. Everyone's going to be at a different place. Everyone that you see on Topstep TV is going to be at a different place. And we all have whatever our story is. Be honest with where you are for yourself. And that's the only thing you need to compare yourself to, not anybody else. Use other people as inspiration, but be honest with where you are. Um, I'll get off the soapbox, and I'll
Wow.
read through
All,
some notes, Coach, if you want to.
all I have to say to that is amen. That's it. Great. I won't soil that with any more comment.
There we go. I got nothing else to say. We are at the hour. Do remember that every coach here is looking to help you in your trading journey. And we have a ton of great ones. So Coach Hoop, Coach Vince, Coach Ray doing classes in Discord. I believe Coach Hoop changed his time. So Coach Hoop, if you can let me know what time you're doing your classes in the chat, I'll plug that. But we also have Coach Ray doing classes every day at 6 p.m. Central Time, Coach Vince at 7 p.m. Central Time, and of course Coach Dakota with slow markets at 7:30 Central. Deanna with the London Open 3:30 a.m. Central Time every morning, Monday through Thursday, and Nick Fortick doing the Sunday kickoff, which is a great segment if you have not seen that already. Ton of content out there for you, all with the interest of making you a better trader, helping you with your journey. And if you like what you heard today, Coach, hit that like button. I do it every day.
Hit it every day. Yeah, please do.
Every day.
And we don't harangue you with it,
Nope.
but do us
Got
a
to throw it
favor.
in at the end. Make sure
If
I
you
make my influencer quota asking for likes. Uh, Coach Hoop every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4:30 to 5:30 Central Time. Thank you for that, Coach Hoop. Thanks, everyone. If you are in the VIP group, we are going to do a call in 45 minutes, and I'll talk to you then. If not, everyone else, I will talk to you all tomorrow. Coach, thank you again.
you're welcome.
Have a great one.
Bye.